Exactly. Leaders tend to control, but the actual voters.
And honestly, like,
You know, they're not all the politicians, they're not all the political people need to take care of, but that was not control.
Well, definitely.
No. If you don't know what open is, I don't know. That was my tweet this morning. If you don't know.
Everybody picking me up well? Some audio? All right, great. All right, good morning. We're going to get started real quick. We're here to discuss the voter protection efforts that the Democrats are working to lay out ahead of the election and protections afterwards as well. Yes. Everybody's picking me up well? So as a reminder, people can vote today and tomorrow, and the last day to vote is on Tuesday. And if you're not registered yet, including my lovely members of the press, and you have not voted yet, you can feel free to visit iwillvote.com and find your nearest polling place. So I'm going to turn it over to Aaron Mukherjee, the DPVA Voter Protection Director.
Thank you, Morgan. Hi, folks. My name is Aaron Mukherjee. I'm the Voter Protection Director for the Democratic Party of Virginia, and it's my privilege to be part of a team that, as Morgan said, is working hard to protect the right to vote here in Virginia. Unfortunately, it's a right that Republicans are now working really, really hard to take away. You know, many folks don't realize this, but for the first time in 8 years, Republicans control every election board in the Commonwealth. And you can bet they're not sitting there twiddling their thumbs. They're getting rid of election officials and replacing them with election deniers. They're doing voter integrity workshops, so-called voter integrity workshops, to try to undermine security of our elections. They've cut Sunday voting in communities of color across the Commonwealth because they know who that affects most. They've taken away voting rights in predominantly black neighborhoods, and they've purged thousands and thousands of voters from the rolls. So make no mistake about it, folks, Republicans did not stop attacking our democracy on January 6th. They were just getting started. And they're still hard at work trying to take away the right to vote. That's what they're doing without control of the General Assembly. So just imagine what they're going to do if they take total control of the General Assembly in just a few days. We don't have to imagine. In January, every single House Republican, every single one, voted to cut early voting by 75% and ban absentee ballot drop boxes. They've gotten rid of a bipartisan system designed to catch voter fraud and replaced it with vigilantes going around challenging voters. And, as I said, they've purged thousands of eligible voters from the rolls. And let's just be clear, these are not people, these are not, names on a spreadsheet. These are real people with real stories who live in communities across the Commonwealth, and they have a constitutional right to vote that was taken away. And the worst part is the Youngkin administration misled us about it. First they said there was no problem, then they said it was a small problem. Now they're saying it's a massive problem. This is part of the weaponized incompetence of the Youngkin administration, gaslighting Virginians into believing they're doing something good, when in fact they're trying to take away our rights. Because Republicans know that when we all vote, we win. Folks in Virginia don't want an abortion ban. They don't want to roll back common sense gun safety measures. They don't want to defund public education, and so the only way Republicans can think to win is to undermine democracy itself, make it harder to vote and easier to cheat. Now here's the good news. Democrats are working twice as hard to protect the right to vote in Virginia. As we speak, volunteers all across the Commonwealth, from Virginia Beach to Loudoun County to Suffolk to right here in Richmond, are stepping up to make sure that everybody has the right to vote and have that vote count. When Republicans tried to end Sunday voting in Prince William County, folks showed up, filled the meeting room to the brim, and we won. And we had Sunday voting in Prince William County this election. When they tried to close early voting locations in communities of color in Richmond and Chesapeake, people showed up, and when they took away eligible voters' right to vote, people fought back and got that right back. So even when Republicans think they're successful in suppressing the vote, there's one thing they consistently underestimate, and that's the will of the people. When they try to take away our rights, we redouble our efforts to make our voices heard. And I'm confident folks across the Commonwealth are going to do that tomorrow, on Saturday, during early voting, on Tuesday, on Election Day, because just like the Republicans, we understand what's at stake. And we understand that when folks show up, we win. So my request to any Virginian watching is simple. We need you to vote. And then we need you to spread the word about the stakes of this election. Get your friends to vote, get your family to vote, get your neighbors to vote. Early voting ends tomorrow and Election Day is Tuesday. We're going to keep working to protect everyone's right to vote. Now is the time to cast yours. Thank you, and with that, I would like to introduce Leader Don Scott.
Thank you, and thank you all for being here. Good morning. We're standing here today because of yet another accident by Governor Youngkin and the MAGA Republicans in the state. They're trying to buy, steal, and cheat their way through this election. We believe it's intentional. We believe it is intentional. Make no mistake about it. The last election, we had races that were decided by 100 votes. A couple of House races that were decided by 100 votes that would have made the House tie. It was a total of around 700 votes that determined the majority. He has removed, at least they tell us, he's removed 3,000 plus voters from the roll. That's more than 3 times the amount that makes a difference in who would be in the majority. Moreover, they haven't told us where those voters are. Are they in battleground districts? Are they in battleground senatorial and House districts? We don't know. I don't even know if they know, because the level of incompetence that they've demonstrated, they're not even good at trying to cheat. They get caught every single time. Making mistakes like this just days before a monumental election where women's reproductive health care is on the line. That's huge. We know what they're trying to do. Every single Republican in the House of Delegates where we serve has said that life begins at conception. They believe they're pro-life. They just caught religion recently trying to say that they have some compromise with women's reproductive health care. The only thing is they forgot to ask women. We believe that the women of the Commonwealth of Virginia and all voters will send them a message on Tuesday, and they know that. That is why they're trying to call and put their finger on the scale during this election, but it won't work. Virginia has a long history, a dark history, of trying to prevent people of color, black people, from voting. We know this. It was enshrined in the 1901 Constitution. This is not a new playbook. We've seen this before. And what they don't understand is black people are going to come out and vote and send them a message that they've never seen before. They will come out and vote. The Republicans know that. Our Commonwealth knows that. And that is why they're doing everything they can to try to steal this election. This most recent voter roll purge, but they've done it before. This most recent incompetence was designed to try to sneak by and put their finger on the scale and impact this election and take it away, but it won't work. And what's sad is they're going after the most vulnerable population. Those people who have worked hard, come home, had their rights restored, done everything right. And what does he do? Tries to take their rights away again. Like some Virginians, and many Virginians, I made a mistake in my past. I have no shame in admitting that. And my rights were restored by a Republican governor. This governor has slowed it all down. He has no belief in second chances. He prescribes and ascribes to some faith, but we've never seen it demonstrated in his policies. They've taken Virginia backwards on voting restoration. They're taking us backwards on voting rights. They've taken us backwards on reproductive health care. They're taking us backwards on gun violence prevention. That is their goal. What's sad is he hadn't apologized for the mistake. He hadn't owned the mistake. He's trying to take credit for catching his own agency and saying, yeah, it was 270, and I asked him to go back and fix it. That's hilarious. Instead of apologizing, because if one person loses their franchise, we should all be concerned, including the Commonwealth, the governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, His Excellency. My message right now to every Virginian is go out and vote. You can vote today. You can vote tomorrow on Saturday. You can vote on Tuesday. We have to send this message, the governor, a message that these type of tactics will not work. They have not worked. We have been resilient for hundreds of years in this country and in this Commonwealth, and we will prevail on Tuesday.
thank you all for being here. If anyone voted during the last 45 days, no excuse for early voting period, thank Democrats. If anyone used a mail drop box, ballot drop box, thank Democrats. If you registered to vote on election day and vote on the same day, thank Democrats. If you are proud of the fact that Virginia went from number 49, being one of the hardest states in which to vote, and moved to number 11 in the country when it comes to access to the ballot box, thank Democrats. Thank you to our previous Democratic trifecta. Virginia is the leader in the South when it comes to voting rights. That's because Democrats believe it should be easier, not harder, to vote, which is why we fought and delivered to make voting easier for everyone, including our friends and loved ones with disabilities. We believe, that is, Democrats believe, that voting is a right in a democracy. We should ask our friends, our Republican friends, what are they afraid of? Why are they scared to allow people to vote in a democracy? Isn't that the hallmark of a democratic society? Allowing people access to voting rights? So why are they afraid to allow people to participate in a democracy? What's the fear? But now that progress is on the line, all the progress that we have made over the course of the last 3 years, that progress is now on the line. Leader Scott has outlined that for you. We now have an opportunity this coming Tuesday to show that this is a very close election. All elections will be very close, except mine. I don't have an opponent. As you might remember, control of the House of Delegates was previously decided by luck. By luck. When a tied race had to be resolved by the drawing of a film canister from a bowl. That should not be the case here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. That's not how we should decide elections. To make sure your voice is heard, let's encourage everyone you know to make a plan to vote. Do you know where you're going to vote on election day? If you've not already voted early, you can vote today, you can vote tomorrow. You can vote on election day. Do you know what time you're going to vote? Let's make a plan to vote. It is critically important that we all participate in this society, in this democracy, in this commonwealth. It's like the gym. If you don't make a plan to get there, it might not happen. Yeah, I know. We cannot afford for anyone to sit out of these elections because our voting rights are on the line. That's already been talked about. And take it from someone who has personally seen what voter suppression looks like. As an 18-year-old registering to vote for the first time in Mississippi that had dual registration, that's a voter suppression tactic. I had to register to vote twice. In a federal courthouse for federal elections, and at the state courthouse for state and local elections. That was easy for me. I lived in Jackson, which was the county seat. So I just had to walk across the street from the federal courthouse to the state courthouse. But imagine for someone who lived 100 miles away or 200 miles away from the federal courthouse. That's what voter suppression looks like. So, that wasn't so easy for someone else who had to do that dual registration. So that was an intentional barrier for a lot of people. So a lot of people ended up not being able to register to vote. So we must protect and expand our Democratic majority in the Senate to continue being a brick wall for voting rights for the next 4 years. That is critically important. We have to ensure that the House becomes a majority. That is critically important for us. Be assured that if the Republicans take over, they are going to take us back. R means reverse. D means go forward. We know that because they've already tried it. We've seen it. Your vote will be safe because of the teamwork of our voter protection team here. So get out there and make your voice heard, because your vote is your voice. So make your voice heard with your vote on Tuesday. So thank you so very much, and I will now turn it over to Senator Scott Survey.
Thank you, Madam Caucus Chair. And first of all, I want to welcome everybody to this wonderful new facility, this new room. I can't think of a better first use for this room, the Senate briefing room, to have a press conference about protecting people's voting rights. I'll tell you, from my perspective, what you're seeing out there from this administration, the weaponized incompetence that you heard about, is that Glenn Youngkin and his friends have figured out they're losing this election. They figured out that Virginia women don't like their supposed compromise that they proposed on women's health care, right to make their own health care decisions. They've figured out, voters have figured out, that this whole parents' rights movement was really about 5 or 10% of the parents telling the other 90% of the parents how the school's going to be run, and it isn't working. Virginia voters have figured out that crime is not out of control in our state, and as usual, as Republicans always seem to do, they're using this crime issue to try and get voters angry about the racial issues, which is really what's happening. It's not working, and so they figured out that the only way they're going to win this election is by keeping people from voting. Now, from my perspective, think about the governor's race. There's a lot of projection going on. There's a lot of projection going on in this administration. He likes to put labels on things. He likes to dress things up. He likes to pretend he's doing something when he's really doing something else. In his election, when he ran, he didn't have a platform after he won his primary in June for about 3 months. The only thing he had on his website until after Labor Day was election integrity. That's the only thing he had on his website the whole summer was election integrity. And then he came out with his first day stuff middle of September. This administration is not about election integrity at all. It's about weaponized incompetence. And I want you to just think about the history of how we got here since the governor took his oath about 250 yards to my right. Last year, we found out that 107,000 voter registration applications got stuck in a computer. And then in October, we found out there were another 100,000 that stuck in their computer. 270,000 applications somehow got stuck in their computer twice. When Susan Beals came and spoke to the Privileges and Elections Committee, we had her come and answer questions. And I specifically asked her, I said, I used to program computers when I was a kid. Computers are really interesting things because they only do what you tell them to do. And I'm trying to understand, has somebody looked at the computer to figure out how these things got stuck? And she said, yes, we have. And I said, what did they figure it out? She said, we don't know. They can't figure it out. I said, you have no explanation as to how these things got stuck? No. She's like, well, how do you know it's not going to happen again? I said, we don't. That's the administration we have, right? Well, 270,000 people got stuck in their computer. 110,000 of them got stuck 3 weeks before the election, right? 176,000 people got sent the wrong polling place because they happen to live in towns. Remember that happened. That's the third thing that happened, right? I have 3 towns up there in my current Senate seat. Every single one of them was told to vote at the wrong place. Administration had to go back and figure that out. And of course, they blame that on a vendor. Well, who did the vendor get the data from? The Youngkin administration. Right? Then, you take those errors and you look at the decisions that have been made. First of all, the governor has implemented his new secret felon voter restoration process. Do we have any idea what his criteria is? No. He won't say. Has he given us time frames? No. Has he said what was wrong with the old system? No. He just says he's going to figure it out. He's going to use his best judgment. What in the world is that? That is basically the old system we had before Bob McDonnell. I mean, this is the system that used to be used by George Allen, Jim Gilmore, all of our governors back to when this Jim Crow policy was baked into our Constitution in 1904. Not 1901.
We'll talk about that.
All right. What else did he do? He took us out of ERIC. Why are we getting out of ERIC? Some MAGA internet, conspiracy theory is what's driving this move to get us out of ERIC, which is, ERIC is all about voter integrity, which was what he campaigned on. He's not about voter integrity, right? He's about trying to be able to monkey around with people's data when nobody's, without transparency, without anybody looking. The third policy that's come around in the last 2 years, I don't want you to remember. Our Attorney General has something called his Voter Integrity Squad. Right? Have they done anything yet? I don't know, but I can tell you that you couple what the governor just did, illegally purging people from the polls, trying to scare people with a felony history about whether they're going to vote or not, and couple that with an election integrity unit, you know what that's going to do? It's going to chill the vote. It's going to cause people to be worried about voting. Is the election integrity unit investigating 3,000 people illegally purged from rolls? Haven't heard a peep out of our Attorney General about it. And you're not going to hear anything out of him. I mean, this administration is all about electoral voting fakery. Now, you heard a little bit about the election. I just want to reaffirm here how close our elections are in Virginia, okay? In the Senate, in the last 4 cycles, the last 4 Senate cycles, we've had 11 elections, state Senate elections, decided by less than 1,000 votes, okay? 2014, Linwood Lewis won by 9 votes. 2007, Ken Cuccinelli won his last Senate race by 92 votes. Bryce Reeves in 2011, this decided the majority in the Senate by 226 votes. Right? George Barker, 2007, 239 votes. Dave Marsden, 2010 special election, 327 votes. Jen Kiggins, 4 years ago, 511 votes. And I got several more. Take the House of Delegates. And since 2017, so this is just in the last 6 years, they've had 17 elections decided by less than 1,000 votes, including who's the Speaker of the Chamber by the film cancer, right? Nancy Guy, 2019, Nancy Guy won by 27 votes. 2017, Bob Thomas won by 82. Delegate Cardozo, I don't remember his first name. He won by 94. AC, 94 votes. 2017, Tim Hugo won by 106 votes in that same 2017 cycle, right? In 2017, the majority of the chamber was decided by 106 votes. Not like 700 is recently. I mean, it gets close in Virginia. We specialize in close elections in this state. And I got another list of about 10 or 15 more if you want to see it. All less than 1,000. So, I want to also point out, we have a whole bunch of unanswered questions. I don't know if anybody read Carl Tobias' op-ed in RTD this morning. He's a University of Richmond law professor. But at the end of his op-ed, he recited the whole Jim Crow history and how we got here. And he said he has several questions that Youngkin has not answered yet. Yeah, no, wait, I'll answer. You don't answer questions. He said, serious questions remain. For example, why did Youngkin wait until the 11th hour before Election Day to act? Is the 3,400 number accurate? How many of that number have actually voted? And how many have been prevented from voting? Right? We don't have answers to any of those questions. I have some other questions. How have the 3,400 people who were illegally purged from the polls been told that they're back on the ballot? Did somebody call them? Did they get a letter? Have we seen the letter? What does the letter say? I mean, have they been told, their polling place? I haven't heard anything out of the Election Integrity Unit or the Voter Integrity Unit, whatever it's called, or the Department of Elections as to how people should vote on election day without fear of being prosecuted or messed around with if they show up and they're not on the rolls. I mean, people get worried about these things, right? They show up, they say you're not on the rolls, and people just walk away. But somebody needs to tell people, if you think you're supposed to be on the rolls, what should you do in order to make sure, what should you do to do this legally? How do you vote provisionally? You know, where should you vote provisionally? What should you bring? We haven't heard any of this kind of information as administration because they don't want these people voting, right? So we haven't gotten answers to any of that. And I'll tell you, once this is over, when we're sitting back in this building in about 2 months with our expanded majority and our new majority in the House of Delegates, we're going to get answers to our questions. And we're not going to be fooled by some sweater vest, right? I mean, you could have put Harry Byrd.
It's fleece.
You could have put a fleece vest. You could have put George Wallace or Harry Byrd in one of these sweater vests. It still doesn't change the fact they're whistling Jim Crow, right? And this governor is constantly dressing himself up to make it so people get distracted about what he's really doing. And from my perspective, this incompetence is going to go down in history, along with snitch lines, purging Martin Luther King and Obama out of the history standards, as a defining moment of this administration. And they're going to pay for this. The message that we need to have, the message that needs to go out, is that if anybody is worried about whether they're on the rolls or not, whether they're allowed to vote or not, they need to go vote today. They need to go vote Saturday. They need to try to vote early so that if there's a problem, they have time to try to figure it out and fix it. They should not wait till Tuesday. They need to vote today or tomorrow. Not wait till Tuesday when there's a bunch of people trying to vote at the same time. There's a lot more chaos. You have time to fix it Friday and Saturday. That's what people need to do. And that's what we should have heard from this administration for the last 4 weeks, is that people should try to get there to vote to fix their problems. So having said that, I think we're going to take questions now.
Alrighty, anybody have questions?
Can you all talk about the efforts that Democrats are making this weekend to get people out to the polls and get them energized to go vote?
We'll be doing lunches all over the state. Governor Westmore from Maryland is coming in. President Obama has done some robocalls to get voters out. All of our congressional delegation, they're out everywhere. Senator Kaine, Senator Warner, Bobby Scott, Jennifer McClellan, Spanberger, Congressman Spanberger. Everybody is out. Don Byer, everybody's out. We're going to have Jim Clyburn come in. He's going to be doing some things here in the Commonwealth. We're all in because we know that so goes the Commonwealth, so goes the country. And it's going to set the tone for 2024. And, I've heard some of my friends on the other side of the aisle that said that Virginia is going to be right for Trump to win. And that's how crazy they are. Like, they're totally delusional. And at the end of the day, Trump lost the state by 10, but they're still pining for him to come back. And so we're going to send a message on Tuesday that type of politics is no longer welcome. We're multicultural, multi-ethnic democracy here in America, and everybody's welcome. And we believe in the American dream. We're going to continue to move forward. That is the message that we're sending out, and that is the message that our partners and others will be resonating this weekend. Our labor partners will be out. Our community, all of our labor partners will be out. All of the large ones will be out this weekend. All of our community organizations will be out this weekend. We have a movement of people that want to see this Commonwealth be fair, be more just, and be more right.
How about President Biden?
What does y'all say?
I'm not aware of him coming.
Robocalls?
You trying to be messy? I'm not aware of President Biden.
No.
Do you want President Biden to?
He sent us some money. Thank you, President Biden, for the money.
Another question?
Yeah, sure. Obviously, we had the past voting records that you guys mentioned with the House Republicans in particular. The Youngkin administration with the Youngkin campaign, and a lot of them are now seem to accept early voting. They've even pushed it themselves. So based off what you guys said earlier, how do you square those two messages that, hey, you know, maybe that did happen in the past, but now they are seem to accept the early voting?
That's a ruse. You said they accepted early voting?
They're in fact asking people to do it.
Oh, they're asking people to do it, but be assured that if they got a trifecta, the very first bills that they would put in is to rescind early voting. Because they did it in this last session, where they put in bills to repeal early voting. This is simply a ruse to try to win next Tuesday. And they do not believe in early voting. In fact, at the Republican Governors Conference, one of the things that is a priority for them is to repeal early voting, and the state they want to start with is Virginia.
They call it the Virginia model.
Right.
And the last thing I was gonna add real quick on that, they do want some people to vote early. They just don't want people that look like me to vote early. And that's what they've been doing. They've been encouraging voters that they think will not vote for them. So they want some people to vote early. They don't want all Virginians to vote early. And that's the problem with this administration. You know, it turns out that the spirit of Virginia is really about mean-spiritedness. And hopefully, you know, as it continues to move forward and we get these Democratic majorities, he'll have to come and try to work and negotiate and really start looking out for all Virginians. The fact that he is not outraged by the fact that he is disenfranchising voters, that's a problem. That's what leadership is. He should be outraged. Someone at that department, their head should roll. He should be the one that's fixing this for all Virginians, whether you win the next election or not. It should not be about winning the next election. It should be about making sure that the system is fair. And he has not done that. He is undermining confidence in the system, but he's going to get a strong, resounding message Tuesday that the voters of Virginia do not agree with him. Another thing I was going to add about the question that you said, we have done a specific voter outreach to African American voters. We've had Roland Martin, who is very well known in the African American community. We've had him at 5 different locations. He's been in Virginia Beach, in Suffolk, in Petersburg, here in Richmond, Fredericksburg. He's been in all of the large and battleground areas to make sure that we're speaking to all of our voters to come out.
I think Senator Sturgill touched on it a little bit, but I don't know, if someone was impacted by that 3,400 purge, and he said vote early, is there any other methods or, you know, advice you guys can give to someone who might be worried about that?
Our voter protection guy probably
That's kind of
knows something about that, but I mean, they can also check the record online to see, to confirm where they're registered, before they go. But Aaron, you going to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, as the senator said, you know, it would be helpful if the Young administration put out actual guidance. I know that they have told registrars, or if somebody comes in and registers same day and believes they're eligible to get wrongfully purged, that they should then contact, and they see that person on the prohibited list, they should then contact BSP, the Virginia State Police, to see if that person is in fact eligible. And so folks should find a way to vote a provisional ballot through same-day registration. But as the senator said, if you go tomorrow and there's an issue, then you've got time to solve it, and that's what we recommend folks do.
Alrighty, so we kept y'all here for a little bit longer than we thought, so we're gonna wrap up real quick. Just remember that, again, early voting is open tomorrow, and then the big day is on Tuesday. Like Aaron and the senator mentioned, voting early can be prescriptive, just in case there are any problems, but because we are in Virginia and because of these lovely Democrats behind me, we do have same-day registration, so no worries if you're not registered, you can visit iwillvote.com if you have not registered. And with that, I'm gonna leave the mic and say thanks.
Thank you.